6 months after the Galactic Council meeting at Rigel Prime, the galaxy was a very different place. The 3 species that had tried to destroy humanity were now working to rebuild their worlds and their reputations. The 100 other species that had gathered in fear were now working together in ways they had never imagined possible. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Cooperation Station, built in orbit around a peaceful world called Haven Prime. Through the massive windows he could see ships from dozens of different species working together to construct something that had never existed before. A truly united galactic community. "Hard to believe it has only been 6 months," said Dr. Park Sora as she joined him at the window. She was no longer pretending to be just a scientist. Her new title was Director of Interspecies Medical Cooperation, and she was leading efforts to share medical knowledge across all galactic species. "Sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing," Lee admitted. "We came so close to a war that could have destroyed everything." "We prevented that war," Park replied firmly. "The Vorthak, Ethereal, and Nexari conspirators were planning to kill billions of people. We stopped them, and we did it without becoming monsters ourselves." Ambassador Yoon Hee-jin approached them, carrying a datapad full of reports. She had been appointed as humanity's first galactic ambassador, representing Earth in the new Interspecies Council that governed cooperation between worlds. "Captain Doctor," she greeted them, "I thought you would like to see the latest reports from our former enemies." Lee took the datapad and read through the files. The Vorthak homeworld had restored all its systems and was now sharing their advanced metallurgy techniques with other species. The Ethereal Council had agreed to teach controlled psychic communication to species that could handle it safely. The Nexari Collective was working with human engineers to build more resilient technology networks. "They are really trying to make up for what they did," Lee observed. "Fear is a powerful motivator," Yoon said. "But I think there is more to it than that. I think they genuinely understand now that cooperation works better than conquest." Commander Kim Jae-wook materialized beside them, still moving with the silent grace of a professional spy. But his new job was very different from his old one. He was now head of the Galactic Intelligence Sharing Network, helping different species coordinate their efforts against real threats like space pirates and rogue AI systems. "The monthly security briefing is ready," he reported. "We have had 0 attempts at large-scale warfare between species. Crime is down 40% in most systems. Trade is up 300%. "Any real problems?" Lee asked. "A few minor disputes about mining rights and trade routes. Nothing that cannot be handled through negotiation." Kim smiled slightly. "It seems that when people are not afraid of being conquered, they are much more willing to talk about their problems." Dr. Shin Yu-jin had traveled from the ethereal homeworld for this meeting. She had become something unique in galactic history, a human who could participate in ethereal psychic meditation while maintaining her own mental independence. Her work was helping both species understand each other in ways that had never been possible before. "The Ethereal High Council has a proposal," she announced as she joined the group. "They want to share their long-range sensing abilities with the galactic community. They can detect threats from outside our galaxy, things that might be coming toward us from distant star clusters." "That sounds ominous," Park said. "What kind of threats?" "Unknown," Shin admitted. "But the Ethereals have been sensing something, moving in the void between galaxies, something big and possibly hostile. They think we might need to work together to prepare for it." Engineer Kim Tae-ho appeared on the communication screen, broadcasting from the Nexari homeworld where he was, now serving as a permanent technology advisor. "I have been working with the Nexari on this problem," he said. "Their long-range sensors confirm what the Ethereals are sensing. There is definitely something out there, and it is heading this way." Lee felt a familiar chill. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 50 years, Kim replied. "Maybe 100. The distances involved make it hard to calculate precisely. Plenty of time to prepare," Yoon said confidently, "if we work together." Admiral Park Hyun-woo had arrived at the station that morning for the quarterly military review. He joined their group carrying reports from defense installations throughout human space and beyond. "The new Joint Defense Fleet is ahead of schedule," he announced. We now have mixed species crews on 40% of our ships. Human tactical knowledge combined with Vorthak engineering, ethereal coordination, and Nixari technology is producing remarkable results. Any problems with the mixed crews? Lee asked. Surprisingly few. The Admiral replied. It seems that when people are fighting for the same cause, their species differences become much less important than their shared goals. Director Lee Soo-young had transformed the Human Intelligence Network into something much larger and more cooperative. She now coordinated information sharing between hundreds of different species, helping them all work together more effectively. The cultural exchange programs are working better than we expected, she reported. Young people from different species are growing up together, learning each other's languages and customs. In another generation, we might have the first truly galactic culture. Master Sergeant Kang Bo-ram had found a new purpose training mixed species security forces. Her combination of human tactical thinking and alien abilities was creating some of the most effective peacekeepers the galaxy had ever seen. Crime syndicates hate us, she reported with satisfaction. They used to exploit the distrust between species to hide their operations. Now that everyone is sharing information and working together, the criminals have nowhere to hide. As the sun set over Haven Prime, the human leaders gathered in the station's main conference room for their regular planning meeting. But this was not like the desperate planning sessions from 6 months ago. This was the work of people building a better future. Status report on the Deep Space Monitoring Project, Admiral Park requested. Dr. Kang Yanhua appeared on the communication screen from the secret research facility that was no longer secret. Her stellar engineering project had been revealed to the galactic community and was now being used for peaceful purposes, creating new stars to provide energy for growing civilizations. We have established monitoring stations at the edge of the galaxy, she reported. Whatever is coming toward us from intergalactic space, we will have plenty of warning and plenty of time to prepare. Are we sharing the defensive technologies? Lee asked. All of them, Admiral Park confirmed. The ring, world construction techniques, the stellar manipulation systems, the quantum defense networks. Every species that wants to help defend the galaxy gets access to our most advanced technology. Is that wise? Commander Kim asked. What if some of them decide to use those weapons against us later? Ambassador Yoon smiled. Then we will deal with that problem when it happens. But I do not think it will. Fear made them our enemies. Trust is making them our friends. The meeting continued late into the night. But it was not the tense, desperate planning of wartime. It was the careful, hopeful work of people building something that had never existed before. A galaxy united not by conquest or fear, but by shared purpose and mutual respect. As the other leaders left to return to their various duties, Captain Lee remained on the observation deck, looking out at the ships from 100 different worlds working together in the darkness of space. Dr. Park joined him again, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the station's multicultural cafeteria. Any regrets? She asked, handing him one of the cups. Lee thought about the question for a long time. I regret that it took a near genocide to bring us all together, he said finally. I regret that we had to show our teeth before people would take us seriously. I regret all the years we spent preparing for a war instead of preparing for peace. But, Park prompted, but I do not regret what we did. We saved billions of lives. We prevented a galactic war. We turned enemies into allies. He took a sip of his coffee and smiled. We kept our promise to protect the innocent even when it meant revealing secrets we had hoped never to use. And now? Now we get to do something even harder, Lee said. We get to prove that cooperation works better than conquest. We get to build something that will last long after we are gone. We get to show the galaxy that humans are not just good at war. We are also good at peace. Far below them, on the surface of Haven Prime, children from dozens of different species were playing together in the parks and schools of the new city. They spoke multiple languages, understood different customs, and saw diversity as normal instead of threatening. Above them, in the vast darkness of space, monitoring stations watched for threats from beyond the galaxy, while research vessels explored new worlds and made new discoveries. And at the heart of it all was the lesson that humanity had learned long ago, but had never been able to teach until now. The strongest weapon is not the one that destroys your enemies, but the one that turns your enemies into friends. The peace treaty had been a trap, but humanity had turned it into something much more powerful. The foundation for a better galaxy. The trap had worked perfectly, but the real victory was not in springing it. It was in what came. The galaxy was in chaos. Within 6 hours of Admiral Park's demonstrations, every major alien government was desperately trying to contact Earth. The humans had just proved they could shut down planets, control the most powerful psychic species, and destroy entire star systems. But the aliens were about to discover that humanity's most terrifying weapon was not technology, it was patience. On the Vorthak homeworld, General Thokmar stood in his command bunker staring at screens full of red warning lights. Every defense system on the planet was offline. Every military base was cut off from communication. Even the lights in his bunker were flickering because the power grid was infected with human viruses. "How long until we can restore our systems?" he demanded, from his chief engineer. "Unknown, General," the engineer replied nervously. "The human malware is unlike anything we have seen. It seems to predict our repair attempts and create new problems faster than we can solve them." General Thokmar slammed his armored fist on the table. "Then we use the backup systems." "The backup systems are also infected, sir. And the backups to the backups. The humans have been planning this for years." On the bridge of the UES Indomitable, Captain Lee watched the reports coming in from around the galaxy. Every alien world where humans had been living was now experiencing technical difficulties. Power grids failing, communication networks down, defense satellites offline. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender offers from 14 different alien governments." "Too early," Lee replied calmly. "They do not understand the full situation yet." Dr. Park looked up from her analysis of the captured alien leaders. "Captain, I think there is something you should know. The aliens were not planning to stop with Earth." She activated a holographic display showing star charts from the captured Nexari computers. They had detailed plans to attack 17 different species after destroying humanity. They were planning to conquer the entire galaxy, one species at a time. Captain Lee studied the charts with growing anger. How many innocent people would have died? "Billions," Dr. Park replied. "Maybe hundreds of billions. They wanted to rule everything." Ambassador Yoon joined them on the bridge. "That changes things. This was not just about defending Earth. This was about stopping a galactic war." Meanwhile, on the ethereal homeworld, Dr. Shin Yu-jin was having a very different conversation with the High Council. The psychic interference had stopped, but the ethereal leaders were still shaken by the experience of having their mental abilities disrupted. "You could have killed us all," the lead counselor said, his energy form dim with fear. "Yes," Dr. Shin agreed. "But we did not. Do you know why?" "Please tell us." "Because humans do not enjoy killing. We are very good at it when necessary, but we prefer to find other solutions. That is why we sent agents to live among you for years instead of just sending armies to conquer you." She stood up and walked to the great window that looked out over the ethereal capital city. "We learned about your culture, your art, your philosophy. We found things to admire and respect. We did not want to destroy you, we wanted to understand you. But you also learned how to defeat us," another counselor observed. "Of course, we hoped we would never need to use that knowledge, but we prepared for the possibility. That is what makes humans different from other species. We prepare for every scenario, even the ones we hope will never happen." In the secret command center, on Earth, Admiral Park was receiving updates from agents across the galaxy. The demonstrations had worked perfectly. Alien governments were panicking, trying to figure out how to respond to humanity's revealed capabilities. "Admiral," Director Lee reported, "we are getting intelligence that some alien species are considering forming an alliance against us. They think that if they work together, they can still defeat humanity." "How many species?" "Maybe 30 or 40, including some we have never contacted before." Admiral Park nodded calmly. Expected. Show them Phase 3. Dr. Kang Yonhua activated another control panel. Around the galaxy, hidden human installations began powering up. These were not the obvious demonstrations of the previous day. These were the weapons that humanity had hoped never to reveal. In the Andromeda spiral arm, an artificial black hole appeared in empty space. It lasted for exactly 30 seconds, then vanished without a trace. But every species with advanced sensors detected it and understood the message. Humans could create and control black holes. Near the galactic core, space itself began to ripple and bend, as human quantum manipulators demonstrated their ability to fold space-time. Ships that were light years apart suddenly found themselves next to each other, then separated again as reality returned to normal. But the most impressive demonstration happened at the edge of the galaxy. A massive structure, bigger than a moon, suddenly appeared in previously empty space. It had been there all along, hidden by technology that bent light and gravity around it. This was humanity's greatest secret, a fully operational ring world, capable of housing billions of people and equipped with weapons that could destroy entire star clusters. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity had been preparing for galactic war for decades. They had built secret installations, developed impossible weapons, and created backup plans for every possible scenario. But they had also been hoping they would never need to use them. On the Nexari homeworld, engineer Kim Tae-ho walked through the darkened streets of the capital city. The technological species that had been so proud of their advanced computers was now learning to live without electricity. But Kim was not there to gloat. He was there to offer help. Citizens of the Nexari Collective. His voice echoed through emergency speakers powered by his own equipment. I am Kim Tae-ho, the human who has been living among you for 3 years. I disabled your systems and I can restore them. But first, we need to have a conversation about the future. Within an hour, the surviving Nexari leadership had agreed to meet with him. They expected threats and demands. Instead, Kim offered something they had not expected: partnership. Your technology is impressive, he told them. But it has a weakness. It depends too much on central control. Human technology is different. It is designed to work even when part of the system fails. We can teach you how to build more resilient networks. Why would you help us after what we tried to do? The Nexari leader asked. Because the galaxy is a dangerous place, Kim replied. There are threats out there that none of us can face alone. Humanity wants allies, not slaves. Back on Kepler 442b, Captain Lee received a priority message from Fleet Admiral Park. It was time for the final phase of Operation Prometheus. Captain, you are hereby ordered to take your fleet to the Galactic Council Station at Rigel Prime. The Council has called an emergency session to discuss the human threat. You will represent humanity at this meeting. Lee smiled grimly. Understood, Admiral. What are my orders for the meeting? Tell them the truth. All of it. The journey to Rigel Prime took 2 days. When the human fleet arrived, they found ships from over 100 different species waiting for them. The largest gathering in galactic history, all brought together by fear of what humanity might do next. The Galactic Council Station was ancient and magnificent, built by species that had been exploring space when humans were still living in caves. The Great Assembly Hall could hold representatives from 1,000 worlds. But as Captain Lee walked into that hall, followed by his senior officers, something strange happened. The alien delegates who had been planning to demand humanity's surrender found themselves uncertain. These humans did not look like conquerors or monsters. They looked tired, sad, and determined. Ambassador Yoon stepped forward to address the assembly. Her voice carried clearly through the vast space, translated into hundreds of languages by the station's systems. Honored delegates, she began, you have called this meeting to discuss the human threat to galactic peace. I am here to tell you that you are right to be concerned. Humanity is indeed a threat, but not in the way you think. The hall erupted in angry voices, but Yoon continued calmly. You are afraid because we showed you weapons that can destroy stars and control black holes. You are afraid because we placed agents on your worlds who could shut down your civilizations with the press of a button. You are afraid because we have technologies that seem impossible. She paused, looking around the assembly. But the real threat is not our weapons or our technology. The real threat is that we were willing to use them to stop a genocide. Dr. Park activated a holographic display that showed the captured alien battle plans. The assembly fell silent as they saw the true scope of the Vorthak ethereal Nexari conspiracy. The plans to destroy not just humanity but dozens of other species. The preparations for a war that would have consumed the entire galaxy. We did not build these weapons to conquer you, Yoon continued. We built them to protect ourselves and others from species who would commit genocide for power. We spent decades preparing for a war we hoped would never come. We placed agents on your worlds not to spy on you, but to understand you well enough to defend you if necessary. The alien delegates looked at each other with growing understanding. Humanity had not attacked the 3 days after the battle at Kepler 442b. The galaxy was buzzing with news of humanity's victory. But the aliens were about to learn that the space battle had been just the beginning. The real demonstration of human capability was about to begin. Deep in the Vorthak home system, Commander Seo Jin Woo sat in the cargo hold of a merchant ship, wearing the clothes of a simple trader. He had been on this planet for 2 years pretending to sell Earth products to alien customers, but his real job was much more dangerous. Phoenix Team, this is Control, came the voice in his hidden earpiece. Operation Prometheus, Phase 2 is active. Begin your missions. SEO smiled and stood up from behind the crates of fake Earth spices. It was time to stop pretending to be a merchant. Around the galaxy, dozens of other humans were getting the same message. Humans who had been living on alien worlds for years, pretending to be traders, tourists, and refugees. They were all spies. On the ethereal homeworld, Dr. Shin Yu-jin finished her morning meditation with the local aliens. For 18 months she had been studying their culture and religion, pretending to be fascinated by their spiritual practices. The ethereals thought she was just another curious human trying to understand their advanced minds. They had no idea she was a former biological warfare specialist who had been mapping their psychic abilities and finding ways to disrupt them. The broadcast from Kepler 442b has caused much distress, her ethereal teacher said, its energy form flickering with worry. Many of our people fear that humans are more dangerous than we thought. I understand their fear, Dr. Shin replied, keeping her voice calm and sympathetic. Perhaps it would help if I could visit your central meditation facility. I could share human perspectives on peace and cooperation. The ethereal being glowed with pleasure. That would be wonderful. The High Council meets there tomorrow to discuss how to respond to the human victory. Dr. Shin nodded humbly, hiding her satisfaction. Getting access to the ethereal High Council had been her mission for 2 years. Tomorrow, she would finally complete it. Back on Kepler 442b, Dr. Park Sora was studying the captured alien leaders in the station's medical bay. But she was not just treating their injuries. She was learning things about alien biology that could never be discovered from a distance. Fascinating, she murmured as she examined a sample of Vorthak blood under her microscope. Their metal implants are actually living tissue. They grow with the body. She made careful notes in her encrypted files. That explains why our EMP weapons affect them so much. We are not just damaging machines, we are hurting living organs. Ambassador Yoon entered the medical bay, now wearing a military uniform instead of diplomatic clothes. How are our prisoners? Healthy. Enough to stand trial for war crimes, Dr. Park replied. But they are also providing very useful information. Did you know that Nexari consciousness can be backed up in their machines? If we can figure out how to access those backups, we could learn everything they know. Good. We will need every advantage for what comes next. Dr. Park looked up from her microscope. What do you mean? This was just the opening move, Yoon said. Fleet Admiral Park has been planning for this day since first contact with alien species. We did not just come here to survive their trap. We came here to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Meanwhile, In the Nexari core systems, engineer Kim Tae-ho was putting the finishing touches on his masterpiece. For 3 years, he had been working as a technology consultant, helping the Nexari improve their computer systems. They thought he was just a clever human who understood their machines. They were wrong. Kim had been installing hidden programs in every system he touched, backdoors that would let human hackers access Nexari networks, viruses that would activate, on command, logic bombs that could shut down entire planetary defense grids. "Control, this is Tech Phoenix," he whispered into his communicator. "All systems are in place. I can shut down 70% of their military networks on your command." "Excellent work, Tech Phoenix. Stand by for further orders." Kim looked out the window of his apartment at the gleaming Nexari city below. Soon, all those lights would go dark. But first, he had one more job to do. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood in the secret command center deep below the planet's surface. This room had been built 20 years ago, when humanity first encountered alien species. Since then, it had been the heart of the longest intelligence operation in human history. "Status report," the Admiral said to his staff. "All Phoenix agents are in position," reported Director Lee Soo-young, head of Human Intelligence Operations. "We have operatives on 43 alien worlds, including all major military and political centers. They have been gathering intelligence and preparing sabotage operations for an average of 2.5 years each. Fleet status? The public knows about the ships that fought at Kepler 442b, replied Admiral Song Min-ho, head of Fleet Operations. They do not know about the additional 200 ships we have been building in hidden shipyards, or about the new weapons those ships carry. Admiral Park nodded. And our special project? Dr. Kang Yeon-hwa, the head of Advanced Weapons Research, smiled coldly. The stellar engineering project is complete. We can now cause controlled solar flares, create artificial gravity wells, and manipulate the quantum structure of space itself. If any alien species tries to attack our worlds, we can destroy their entire star system. Good. It is time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. The Admiral activated the global communication system. Around the galaxy, every human agent, every human ship, and every human colony received the same message. Operation Prometheus. Phase 2 begins now. On the Vorthak homeworld, Commander Seo Jinwoo walked calmly into the Planetary Defense Headquarters. His fake merchant identification got him through security without problems. Once inside, he made his way to the central computer core. "Hello, friends," he said to the Vorthak technicians working there. "I have a delivery for you." He opened his merchant case and pulled out what looked like a new type of computer component. "This is a gift from humanity, a gesture of goodwill, after the unfortunate misunderstanding at Kepler 442b. The Vorthak engineers eagerly connected the device to their systems. They thought it was advanced human technology that would help them understand their enemies better. It was, but not in the way they expected. The moment the device connected, it began uploading viruses throughout the Vorthak military network. Within minutes, every defense satellite, every weapons platform, and every military computer in the system was infected with human malware. On the ethereal homeworld, Dr. Shin Yu-jin entered the sacred meditation chamber where the High Council was meeting. The ethereal leaders welcomed her warmly, pleased to have a human witness to their wise discussions about galactic politics. "We must be careful not to provoke the humans further," one council member was saying. "They proved at Kepler 442b that they are more dangerous than we thought." "Yes," Dr. Shin agreed, sitting in the center of their psychic circle. "Humans can be very dangerous when threatened, but we can also be very helpful to our friends." As she spoke, she activated a small device hidden in her clothing. It began broadcasting psychic interference patterns that she had spent months perfecting. The ethereal beings, so proud of their mental abilities, suddenly found their thoughts scattered and confused. What is happening?" the lead counselor gasped. "You are learning that human minds work differently than yours," Dr. Shin replied calmly. "We do not just think with our brains. We think with our tools, our technology, and our preparation. You cannot read what we are thinking, because we are always thinking 3 steps ahead. In the Nexari core systems, Engineer Kim Tae-ho pressed a single button on his hidden control device. Across the planet, every computer system he had worked on for 3 years suddenly stopped working. Traffic control, power generation, water treatment, communications, military command, everything went dark. The Nexari, who depended on their technology for everything, found themselves helpless in minutes. But the most impressive demonstration was still to come. Dr. Kang Yeonhwa stood in the command center of humanity's most secret facility, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the outer solar system. This was where humanity had been developing weapons that most species would consider impossible. Target locked, she announced. One uninhabited star system in neutral space, as ordered. Fire, Admiral Park commanded. The weapon that fired did not use bullets or energy beams. It used the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Quantum manipulators reached across space and began changing the nuclear reactions inside a distant star. 5 minutes later, the star went nova in a spectacular explosion that could be seen from a dozen different worlds. The message was clear. Humanity could destroy entire star systems if they chose to. Throughout the galaxy, alien leaders watched the demonstrations of human power with growing fear. The species they had thought were primitive and weak had just proved they could shut down planets, control minds, and destroy stars. But Admiral Park was not finished yet. Send a message to all alien governments, he ordered. Tell them that humanity is ready to discuss new peace treaties. Real ones this time. Treaties where everyone tells the truth about their capabilities and intentions. And if the aliens had expected easy targets. Instead, they found themselves fighting the most dangerous humans alive. Ambassador Yoon moved through the conference room like death itself, her diplomatic dress torn and bloodied but her eyes bright with combat joy. She had been pretending to be peaceful for so long that she had almost forgotten how good it felt to fight. Master Sergeant Kang had found a perfect sniper position behind the overturned conference table. Her weapon looked like a ceremonial staff from Earth, but it fired rounds that could punch through Vorthak armor. Every shot she took dropped another alien warrior. Contact left, shouted Lieutenant Colonel Oh Sung-ho, who had been pretending to be a trade negotiator. He threw what looked like a peace offering from his diplomatic bag. When it exploded, 3 Nexari combat units fell silent, their circuits fried by the hidden EMP device. The aliens were learning that human culture was very different from what they had expected. Dr. Park worked calmly in the center of the chaos, treating wounded humans while occasionally throwing small devices that released clouds of gas. The gas was harmless to humans, but made the aliens sick and confused. She had spent years studying alien biology, and now she was using that knowledge as a weapon. Their coordination is breaking down, she called out to Ambassador Yoon. The Vorthak are getting angry and making mistakes. The ethereals cannot think clearly through the psychic jamming. The Nexari are trying to reboot their systems. Good, Yoon replied as she took cover behind a decorative pillar. Nam, how are we doing with their defenses? Tech specialist Nam Dong-hyun was crouched behind. His translation equipment, which was now revealed to be a sophisticated hacking system. Their station defenses are completely down, he reported. I have control of their life support, artificial gravity, and door locks. Want me to turn off their gravity? Not yet, Yoon said. We need to be able to move around too. Outside the conference room, more human diplomats were fighting through the station corridors. These were not the confused, frightened civilians the aliens had expected. These were professional warriors who had been planning for this exact situation for years. Colonel Baek Do-yoon led a team toward the station's command center. He had been pretending to be a cultural historian, but he was really a psychological warfare expert. As they moved through the corridors, he used the station's communication system to broadcast messages designed to create fear and confusion among the alien crew. Attention, Vorthak forces. His voice echoed through the station. Your leaders are dead. Your fleets are destroyed. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. None of it was true yet, but the aliens did not know that. Beck understood that fear was often more effective than bullets. Major Song Yoon-hae had taken control of the station's computer systems. She had been posing as a communications officer, But she was really a cybersecurity specialist. While the aliens were fighting the humans in the corridors, she was fighting them in cyberspace, taking control of their systems one by one. "I have access to their fleet coordination systems," she reported over the secure communication network. "The alien ships outside cannot talk to each other anymore." In space around the station, the battle was going even worse for the aliens. Captain Lee's hidden fleet had emerged from their hiding places like wolves from the forest. The alien commanders had planned to fight 3 lightly armed human ships. Instead, they faced dozens of human warships that had been built specifically for this battle. The UES Indomitable led the attack with weapons the aliens had never seen before, quantum disruptors that could tear apart Nexari technology, psionic feedback weapons that drove ethereal beings mad, kinetic bombardment systems that smashed through Vorthak armor like it was made of paper. But the real surprise was not the weapons. It was the tactics. Admiral Lim Tae-sung commanded the human fleet from his flagship, the UES Retribution. He had been studying alien battle tactics for 20 years. He knew exactly how each species liked to fight, and he had prepared counters for every strategy. The Vorthak liked to charge straight at their enemies, using their heavy armor to absorb damage while their powerful guns destroyed everything in front of them. But Admiral Lim's ships did not stay in front of them. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before the Vorthak could respond. The ethereal beings liked to coordinate their attacks using their psychic abilities, moving their ships like they were extensions of their own minds. But the human ships carried psionic scramblers that filled space with mental static. The ethereal fleet flew into each other, unable to coordinate their movements. The Nexari depended on their advanced technology to give them an advantage in battle. Their ships could calculate the perfect time and place to fire their weapons. But Major Song's cyber attacks had infected their systems with viruses that made their calculations wrong. Their perfect shots missed by thousands of kilometers. "Sir, the alien fleets are retreating," reported the tactical officer on the Indomitable. "Captain," Lee watched the enemy ships fleeing toward the gas giants where they had been hiding. "Let them go," he said. "We want survivors to tell others what happened here today." Back on the station, the battle in the conference room was coming to an end. The alien delegates who were still alive had surrendered. They sat in the middle of the room, surrounded by their dead comrades and victorious humans. The lead Vorthak warrior looked up at Ambassador Yoon with defeat in his eyes. "How?" he asked. "How did you know?" "We have been watching you since the first day you contacted us about peace talks," Yoon replied. "Every message you sent, every ship you moved, every plan you made, we knew it all. But why come here? Why not just refuse the meeting?" Dr. Park knelt beside a wounded ethereal being, treating its injuries even though it had been trying to kill her minutes before. "Because we needed to send a message," she said. "Not just to you, but to every species in the galaxy. We needed them to understand what happens when someone threatens humanity." Commander Kim entered the room with a team of Marines. The station was now completely under human control. "All alien resistance has ended," he reported. "We have captured their communication logs and battle plans. They were planning to hit Earth, Mars, and 15 colony worlds as soon as they killed us." "How many of our people are wounded?" Yoon asked. 12 injured, none killed," Kim replied. "The aliens were not prepared to fight real soldiers." The Nexari leader, its technological implants sparking from EMP damage, managed to speak. "This changes nothing. There are hundreds of other fleets, thousands of other worlds. You cannot fight the entire galaxy." Ambassador Yoon smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "Watch us." She walked to the communication console and activated the station's long-range transmitters. "This is Ambassador Yoon Hye-jin of the Terran Federation, speaking from the Kepler 442b Peace Conference. To all alien species listening to this broadcast, you just witnessed what happens when someone tries to set a trap for humanity. Your 3 most powerful military alliances tried to kill 50 human diplomats. They failed. Their fleets are destroyed. Their leaders are captured. Their perfect plan has become their worst defeat." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Let this Be a lesson to anyone who thinks humans are weak or naive. We came to this peace conference ready for peace, but we also came ready for war. We are always ready for war. We hope we never have to prove it again, but we will if we must. The broadcast ended. Throughout the galaxy, hundreds of alien species received the message. Along with it came detailed records of the battle, showing exactly how completely the human forces had defeated their enemies. On the station, the human forces began preparing to leave. The wounded were treated. The captured aliens were loaded onto transport ships. The evidence of alien treachery was carefully documented. But the most important thing was the message they had sent. Humanity was no longer the new species trying to find its place in the galaxy. They were now a force that everyone else would have to consider very carefully before crossing. As the human ships prepared to depart, Captain Lee received a priority message from Earth. It was from Fleet Admiral Park Hyun-woo, the overall commander of all human military forces. "Congratulations, Captain," the Admiral's message said. "Phase 1 of Operation Prometheus is complete. You have successfully demonstrated our capabilities to the galaxy. Now it is time for Phase 2. Lee smiled. The aliens thought the battle was over. They had no idea it was just beginning. The second day of peace talks began early. Ambassador Yoon led the human delegation into the conference room with a bright smile. She looked like she was excited about making peace, but hidden under her diplomatic clothes was enough weapons to fight a small war. The alien delegates seemed happy too. They had prepared detailed agreements about trade, territory, and military cooperation. The papers looked official and impressive. Dr. Park read through them carefully, nodding and asking questions like a real diplomat would. But Park was not really reading about trade agreements. She was studying the aliens themselves. The Vorthak. Delegates kept looking at their wrist devices at exactly the same times. The ethereal beings were floating slightly higher than yesterday, which meant they were excited about something. The Nexari machines were making soft humming sounds that matched a battle frequency she had heard before. These terms seem very generous, Ambassador Yoon said to the lead Vorthak. "Almost too generous." "We are tired of war," the alien replied. "We want to focus on building instead of destroying." Cho Min-jung sat at the back of the room, pretending to take notes. But she was really watching the aliens' micro-expressions and reading their body language. She had studied alien behavior for years. The Vorthak were excited but trying to hide it. The ethereals were broadcasting feelings of anticipation on frequencies they thought humans could not detect. The Nexari were running combat programs in their background processors. During the lunch break, the human delegation met in their private meeting room. Cho immediately gave her report. "They are lying about everything," she said. "The Vorthak are planning something for tonight. The ethereals are excited about a big victory. The Nexari are already running attack programs." Nam Dong-hyun had been working with his translation equipment all morning. "I found something else," he said. "This whole station is one big trap. It is designed to block all communications from ships in orbit. When they activate it fully, our ships will not be able to call for help or escape." "How long until they activate?" Commander Kim asked. "I think tonight during the closing ceremony. They want to make it look like we agreed to peace, then they will kill us and say it was an accident." Ambassador Yoon smiled coldly. "Perfect. That gives us exactly what we need." That afternoon the talks continued. The humans acted excited about the peace agreement. They talked about the wonderful future where all races would work together. They even gave the aliens gifts from Earth, beautiful art, music, and cultural items. The aliens accepted the gifts gratefully. They did not know that each gift contained something deadly. The beautiful sculptures had explosives inside. The music players were actually signal jammers. The cultural artifacts were weapons designed to look harmless. As evening approached, Master Sergeant Kang positioned herself near a window that gave her a good view of the docking bay. She was supposed to be a language specialist, but she was really one of humanity's best snipers. Through the window, she could see the 3 human ships docked to the station. They looked quiet and peaceful, but Kang knew better. Inside those ships, the crews were preparing for battle. The diplomats who had stayed on the ships were actually Marines and Special Forces soldiers. The ships themselves were not just transport vessels. They were warships disguised to look civilian. The closing ceremony began at sunset. The conference room was decorated with flowers and lights from all 4 species' homeworlds. The alien leaders made speeches about peace and cooperation. They signed the treaty with great ceremony. Ambassador Yoon signed for humanity. As she wrote her name, she pressed a small button hidden in her pen. Throughout the station, tiny devices that had been hidden in the cultural gifts began to activate. "This is a great day," the lead ethereal announced. "Now we can begin a new era of peace." "Yes," agreed the Nexari leader. "A new era begins tonight." The way they said tonight made Cho Min-jung's skin crawl. She caught Dr. Park's eye across the room and made a small hand signal. Park nodded slightly and moved toward the emergency exit. "Perhaps we should celebrate," the Vorthak leader said. "We have prepared special food and drink for this occasion." Ambassador Yoon smiled. "That sounds wonderful. But first, I think there is something we should discuss privately." The alien leaders looked curious. "What is that?" "You should have done your homework on human diplomats," Yoon said quietly. Suddenly, the lights in the room changed from warm white to red. Emergency alarms began to sound throughout the station. The hidden devices in the human gifts were now active, jamming alien communications and disrupting their systems. The alien leaders looked confused and angry. "What is happening?" the Vorthak demanded. "You are about to learn something about humans," Dr. Park said as she pulled a weapon from what looked like a scientific instrument. "We do not like being lied to." The ethereal beings tried to read the humans' minds, but found only static. Nam's jamming devices were blocking their psychic abilities. The Nexari tried to access their combat systems but found them locked down by human cyber attacks. The Vorthak reached for their weapons but discovered that their armor systems were not responding. "This is impossible," the Nexari leader said. "How did you know?" "We have been watching you for 3 years," Commander Kim said as he appeared at the main door with 10 armed humans. "Every communication you thought was secret, every ship movement you thought we could not see, every plan you made we knew about." "But you are diplomats," the Vorthak leader protested. Ambassador Yoon laughed. "I am a former Special Forces colonel. Dr. Park used to develop biological weapons. Commander Kim runs our intelligence operations. Master Sergeant Kang has killed more aliens than you have claws. We are diplomats the same way a sword is a farming tool." The aliens tried to activate the station's defenses, but nothing worked. The human gifts had infected every system with viruses and jamming signals. What was supposed to be their perfect trap had become their prison. Outside in space, the alien fleets hiding behind the gas giants began to move toward the station, but they found something unexpected waiting for them. Human ships, dozens of them, emerged from behind asteroids and debris fields where they had been hiding for days. Captain Lee watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as his hidden fleet engaged the alien armada. The aliens had been planning to attack 3 small, human ships. Instead, they found themselves facing a battle group that had been designed specifically to fight all 3 alien species at once. "Sir, the alien fleet is breaking formation," his tactical officer reported. "They were not expecting us to be here." "Of course they were not," Lee smiled. "They thought they were setting a trap. They had no idea they were walking into one." The space battle began with human ships using weapons the aliens had never seen before. EMP missiles that shut down Nexari technology. Psionic scramblers that drove ethereal beings insane with feedback. Kinetic rounds that punched through Vorthak, armor like paper. Back on the station, the conference room had become a battlefield. The 50 human diplomats had revealed their true nature. They were all soldiers, spies, and special operations experts. Each one was worth 10 regular troops. The aliens found themselves trapped in a room with humanity's most dangerous people, using weapons they had not known existed, following tactics they could not understand. "Why?" the ethereal leader asked as it cowered behind an overturned table. "Why do this? We could have had real peace." "Because you are liars," Dr. Park said. as she treated a wounded teammate with one hand and held a weapon in the other. You never wanted peace. You wanted to kill us all and then destroy Earth. We found your real plans 3 years ago. Then why did you come? Ambassador Yoon smiled as she checked her weapon. Because we wanted to show you what happens to people who threaten humanity. We wanted you to see what real diplomacy looks like. The battle raged on both in the station and in space around it. But it was already clear who was winning. The aliens had planned to fight peaceful diplomats and lightly armed transport ships. Instead, they were fighting humanity's finest warriors using humanity's most advanced weapons. The trap had worked perfectly, but humanity had been the ones setting it. All along, Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the stars through the main window. His hands were steady on the rail, but his mind was racing. After 20 years of war against 3 alien races, they wanted to talk peace. It seemed too good to be true. "Sir, we have incoming message from the Galactic Coalition," said his communications officer. The young man looked nervous. Everyone was nervous these days. "Put it through," Lee said. The hologram showed 3 alien figures. The first was tall and covered in metal plates, a Vorthak warrior. The second looked like it was made of light and energy, an ethereal being. The third was completely covered in technology, more machine than living thing, a Nexari. Humans. The Vorthak spoke with a voice like grinding metal. "We invite you to peace talks on the neutral world of Kepler 442b. 3 days from now, bring 50 of your people. We will bring 50 from each of our races." The message ended quickly. Lee stared at the empty space where the aliens had been. Beside him, Dr. Park Sora pushed her glasses up her nose. She was supposed to be their top expert on alien life, but Lee knew she was much more than that. "What do you think, Doctor?" Lee asked. Park looked at the star charts on the screen. "It could be real. They have been losing ships in the outer systems. Maybe they are tired of fighting. Or maybe they want to finish this war in one move," said Commander Kim Jae-wook as he walked onto the bridge. Kim ran human intelligence operations, and he never trusted anyone. "Kill our leaders and then attack Earth while we are confused." Lee nodded. "That is what I think too. But we have to go." "Of course we do." Kim smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We have been planning for this." 2 hours later, Lee sat in a secret meeting room deep inside the ship. Around the table were people who looked like diplomats, scientists, and cultural experts. But Lee knew what they really were: soldiers, spies, and killers. The best humanity had to offer. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lee began, "we are going to a peace conference. At least, that is what everyone thinks." He pressed a button, and the lights dimmed. "Protocol Prometheus is now active." Dr. Park stood up. She no longer looked like a quiet scientist. Her eyes were hard and sharp. "I have been studying alien biology for 15 years. Not just to understand them, but to find ways to stop them. Each species has weaknesses. The Vorthak are strong but slow. The ethereals can read minds but cannot handle pain. The Nexari depend on their machines too much." Commander Kim opened a metal case. Inside were weapons that looked like common tools. "Every cultural gift we bring has a weapon inside. Every piece of art contains explosives. Every musical instrument can become a gun." A woman at the far end of the table raised her hand. She looked like a young language teacher, but Lee knew she was Master Sergeant Kang Bo-ram, one of their best snipers. "What about our backup?" "The aliens think 3 ships are coming," Lee said. "They are right. But they think those ships only have diplomats on them. They are wrong." The meeting continued for 2 more hours. They went over every detail of the plan. Every person had 2 jobs, one fake job as a diplomat and one real job as a warrior. Every item they would bring had 2 purposes. Every word they would say had 2 meanings. The next morning, the 3 human ships left Earth orbit. The UES Indomitable carried Lee and the main diplomatic team. The other 2 ships, the UES Harmony and the UES Unity, carried the rest of the humans going to the peace talks. As they traveled through space, Dr. Park worked in her laboratory, but she was not preparing for diplomatic meetings. She was mixing chemicals that could kill aliens quickly and quietly. In another part of the ship, technical specialist Nam Dong-hyun was building electronic devices that looked like translation equipment, but could jam alien communications. Ambassador Yoon Hye-jin spent her time reading books about alien culture. At least that is what anyone watching would think. Really, she was memorizing the layout of the conference building and planning attack routes. She had been a special forces colonel before becoming a diplomat. Her job was to keep everyone alive. When the shooting started. On the second day of travel, intelligence specialist Cho Min-jung brought Lee some interesting news. "Captain, I have been watching alien communications. They are using codes they think we cannot break." "But we can break them?" Lee asked. "We broke them 3 years ago," Cho smiled. "They are moving a lot of ships toward Kepler 442b. More ships than they need for a peace conference." Lee was not surprised. "How many ships?" "At least 200, maybe more. They are hiding behind the gas giants in that system." "Good. That means our plan is working." On the third day, they reached Kepler 442b. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green land. In orbit above the planet was a massive space station that looked like it was made of crystal and metal. That was where the peace conference would happen. As the human ships approached the station, Lee received a message from the alien leaders. They sounded friendly and welcoming. They talked about ending the war and building a better future for all races. Lee smiled and gave friendly replies. But inside, he was ready for battle. The 3 human ships docked with the station. 50 humans, in diplomatic clothes, walked through the corridors toward the conference room. They looked peaceful and hopeful. They carried gifts and cultural items from Earth. They smiled and spoke politely to the aliens they met. But each human was also carrying hidden weapons. Each gift contained something deadly. Each smile hid the knowledge that this was probably a trap. The conference room was huge and beautiful. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that showed images of different worlds. The ceiling was open to space with a force field keeping the air inside. It looked like the perfect place for making peace. The alien delegates were already there. 50 Vorthak warriors in their metal armor. 50 ethereal beings floating above their chairs. 50 Nexari covered in glowing technology. They all looked confident and pleased. Ambassador Yoon led the human delegation to their seats. As they walked, Dr. Park quietly looked around the room. She noticed that the doors had extra locks. The walls had hidden devices that might be weapons. The air smelled wrong. There might be drugs in it to make humans sleepy or confused. "Welcome, humans," said the lead Vorthak. "We are happy that you came. Today we will make history. Today we will end this war." "We are happy to be here," Ambassador Yoon replied. "Humanity wants peace more than anything else." But as she spoke, she was also using hand signals to tell her team about the dangers she could see. Master Sergeant Kang understood the signals and quietly moved to a better position. Tech specialist Nam started setting up his translation equipment, which was really a powerful jamming device. The first day of talks went well. Both sides spoke about ending the fighting. They discussed trade agreements and sharing technology. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in peace. But Dr. Park noticed small things. The way the Vorthak looked at each other, the way the ethereals, energy patterns changed when they thought the humans were not watching, the way the Nexari machines made clicking sounds at certain times. That night, the humans stayed in rooms on the station. The rooms were comfortable and well supplied. But Commander Kim found listening devices hidden in the walls. Cho Min-jung discovered that their communications equipment was being blocked by the station itself. Nam Dong-hyun detected massive energy, weapons hidden throughout the station. "It is definitely a trap," Kim told Lee over a secure connection. "They plan to kill us all here, then attack Earth while our leaders are dead." "How long do we have?" Lee asked. "I think they will wait until tomorrow night. They want to look like they tried to make peace first." Lee nodded. "Good. That gives us time to get ready. Send the signal." Kim pressed a button on a device that looked like a normal data pad. Far away in space, hidden behind asteroids and debris, other human ships received the signal. Ships that the aliens did not know existed. Ships that had been waiting for this moment. The trap was set. But the aliens had no idea who was really trapped.